Good evening, everybody. I hope you're doing well. I wanted to stop in to make a quick little video that's going to talk about three different forms of socialization that are associated with socialization. As you know, through the readings and the activities that we have been discussing, I wanted to add a little bit more detail to what you have read and share some personal experiences as well. So, the first one that we're going to talk about is going to be the anticipatory socialization. And that is essentially just preparing for new life roles. We all experience this, whether we are um, cohabitating before we get married, if we are preparing to have a child, whether it's adoption or if you are having your own child, that you make children's books. You may read some books on how to raise children just to get a little bit more insight. And then one thing that I'm currently doing, and many of you might be doing as well too, is that you are saving your money in a 401k, Roth IRA, or even a savings account to help prepare for your retirement. And one of the things that I can relate the most to right now is that I am saving my money for retirement. That my wife and we are um, preparing for the future, which is going to be our new life role many, many, many years down the road. That we want to make sure that we are putting away enough money that when we do retire, we can live pretty comfortably. So that is what we are referring to the anticipatory socialization. An example that you might be experiencing is that your new um, future life roles are going to become an RN. So, what you're doing is that you are preparing yourself for that new role by attending Galen, by taking the necessary classes you need in order to pass the exams, pass the classes, graduate from the program, and become an RN. That is a part of the anticipatory socialization. The second type of socialization that we have is re-socialization. So, what does it really mean to be re-socialized? I like to think about it from the perspective of a criminologist. And the reason why I like to think about it this way is because I have a degree in sociology, but I have a specialty in criminology. And one of the things that really comes to mind is re-socializing and reintegrating individuals who were incarcerated back into society. So, really, what re-socialization is talking about is talking about how the old behaviors that we had that used to be helpful are no longer needed. They are removed because, again, they are no longer useful. So, let's think about it this way. If an individual is arrested and they are incarcerated and they are sentenced to 10 years in a maximum security prison, the way that they were socialized on the street might not be the best way to, in a way, survive within the prison walls. So they are being re socialized in a way where their behaviors that they learned on the outside are going to be changing or could be changing in a way that they're going to learn new behaviors that are going to help them survive a maximum security prison. And that could look like a variety of things. So, one example might be if a person who was on the outside was nonviolent, that nonviolent, very timid behavior, if they were timid, might need to be removed in order to survive prison. They might need to remove those old behaviors, start adopting and conforming to new behaviors, which could look like becoming more violent, behaving in a certain way that they typically would not, maybe engage in substance use simply because that is how they are going to really survive within the prison walls. So that's a great example about somebody who has a certain behavior before entering a correctional facility and how it changes while they might be inside. And I don't like using definitives because this might not be applicable to everybody. Some people might go to prison and not have to really change their behavior too much. But being around certain types of behaviors that they tend to become resocialized to, so they're not viewed as the prey in a way. So if somebody happens to be incarcerated after 10 years, the sentence is up and they have to re-enter society. Let's think about it this way. The behaviors that they learned in prison, just say they learned about being violent, being manipulative, um, more of a predator, somebody who's going to extort somebody or hurt somebody in order to survive. If they were to use those behaviors that they learn within the prison walls, that could cause them to be rearrested. So they need to be re-socialized and reintegrated into society. So it's a hard transition because they're used to that type of environment, those behaviors for so long that re-socializing can be quite difficult. So the temptation to maybe become more aggressive or manipulate or extort people when they get out of prison could be difficult, which is why they might have to live at home or live in a halfway house or attend counseling or anger management treatment. That can be some methods in which they are going to be re-socialized. So the behaviors that they learn within the correctional facility walls are trying to be removed. And they can be removed in the ways that I was just discussing. The last form of socialization that we're going to be talking about, as you know, is degradation ceremony. And really, that's kind of leaving behind your old identity. And one of the examples that we have in the book that I would like to share as well is that the first one is an elderly person who is living at home can no longer take care of themselves. They need around the clock attention. They need care 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So that elderly individual who is living within their family home, they have to give up that home and move into a 24-hour a day care facility where they can be housed, they can be taken care of, their medications can be distributed to them, and they can be taken. So their old identity is when they were living within their home, and then they are leaving that behind to move on to really the next chapter in their life, which is going into a care facility. Another example, going back to criminology, is an individual who was convicted of a crime is now going to prison. So before they went to prison, their identity was that they were a free individual. They had rights, they had privileges, they had belongings, they had anything that they really wanted or needed. But once they've been convicted of that crime and they are charged and sentenced to a 10-year sentence, their freedom is removed, their rights are removed, and the belongings that they have, like their personal belongings, cannot be taken with them. So if they had a guitar, a flat screen TV, or a Ferrari, can't bring that to jail with them. So the life and the identity that they had on the outside is no longer there, and they are leaving that behind, going from a free individual to an inmate. One example that I would like to discuss is, or share simply, is that when I was living in San Diego, I'm originally from San Diego, California. I was living in my parents' house. At the age of 26, I moved to New York. So my identity of living with my parents, being a Californian, is shifting to living on my own and becoming a New Yorker. So that's what the degradation ceremony is as well. That's just a personal example. One last example is joining the military. Again, somebody who might be a civilian 2 months prior to sign up for the military. Once they sign up for the military, their life as a civilian is being left behind, and they are joining a branch of the military. So that is the degradation ceremony. Just a few examples, and I would just like for everybody to think about these examples and how they pertain to you specifically. What is an example of anticipatory socialization for you? What is an example of being re-socialized for you? And lastly, what is an example of a degradation ceremony that you have experienced? I hope this video helps. Keep up the great work. Everybody's doing wonderful. I'm really proud of everybody. Also remember that our first test is going to be this Sunday.